The sound of my ceramic vase shattering against the hardwood floor echoed through the house like a gunshot. I stood frozen in my own entryway, staring at the scattered blue shards that once held my wedding flowers. "Oh dear, I was just trying to make space for my mother's antique vase," Norma called from the living room. "That modern piece didn't really match the traditional aesthetic I'm creating." I'm Vivian, and 3 hours ago, I had a perfectly arranged home. Now my mother-in-law had transformed it into what she probably considered an improvement. The furniture had been rearranged, my artwork was stacked in a corner, and family photos I'd never seen before covered every surface. "I hope you don't mind, dear. Mark gave me his key so I could surprise you both." Norma emerged from the living room, wearing an apron over her pressed floral dress. The poor boy's been eating takeout far too often. My fingers curled into fists. "Where is Mark?" "Still at work, I imagine. He's been putting in such long hours lately." She tootayed, moving past me to adjust a newly hung portrait of her late husband. "Someone needs to take care of him properly." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. I pulled out my phone and typed, "Coming home now. Emergency. Norma, I appreciate you wanting to help, but don't worry about the vase, dear. We'll replace it with something more suitable." She was already sweeping up the pieces, humming to herself. "I've made pot roast for dinner. Mark's favorite." My phone buzzed. "Can't leave work. Big project due. Everything okay?" The rage building in my chest threatened to explode. I forced myself to breathe, counting backward from 10. "How long are you planning to stay?" "Oh, we haven't decided yet." Norma straightened up, dumping my shattered vase into the trash. "Since Howard passed, the house feels so empty. Mark suggested I might spend some time here, help out around the house." My stomach dropped. "He what?" "We discussed it last week. He's such a thoughtful boy." She patted my arm condescendingly. "Now, why don't you go freshen up? You look tired, dear. Those long work hours really show on a woman's face." I retreated to my bedroom, the only space still untouched by Hurricane Norma, and called Mark again. Voicemail. "Your mother is here. She's redecorating our house and talking about moving in. Call me back immediately." My phone chimed with a text, "Sorry, honey. Can't talk now. Mom's just trying to help. We'll discuss tonight." I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at his message. The same bed where, just last night, we'd talked about starting a family. Now my mother-in-law had invaded our space, and my husband couldn't be bothered to deal with it. "Vivian?" Norma's voice carried up the stairs. "I'm just going to move these modern art pieces to the garage. They're not really appropriate for a family home." My wedding vase lay in pieces in the trash. My art was being exiled. My space was being erased, piece by piece, and my husband was letting it happen. I opened my phone and called Rachel. "Hey," I said when she answered. "Remember when you said I was too nice? That I let people walk all over me?" "Yeah. I think that's about to change." I watched through the window as Norma carried my favorite sculpture toward the garage. "I'm done being nice." "What happened?" "My mother-in-law just declared war." I stood up, straightening my spine. "And she has no idea what she's started." 3 days into Norma's invasion, I found myself hiding in my office at work, pretending to review marketing proposals while actually scrolling through apartment listings. The door clicked open, and I quickly switched screens. "Your 9 o'clock is here," my assistant said, "and your mother-in-law called." Again. I deleted the 4th voicemail without listening to it. "Send them in." The client meeting dragged on, my mind drifting to last night's dinner. Norma had served pot roast, again, while lecturing about the importance of learning family recipes. A wife should know her husband's favorites, she'd said, her eyes boring into me across the table. Mark had just kept eating, silent as always. My phone buzzed. Norma, the cleaning service you use is inadequate. I've cancelled them. We can save money if I handle it. Vivian? Your thoughts on the campaign direction? I looked up at my client's expectant face, realizing I'd missed half the conversation. I apologize, could you repeat the last part? Back home that evening, I found all my cleaning supplies replaced with natural alternatives. The lemon vinegar smell burned my nose as I walked through the door. Mark? I called out. In here, honey. His voice came from the kitchen, accompanied by the clinking of dishes. I rounded the corner to find him and Norma cooking together, looking like a Norman Rockwell painting gone wrong. My stomach clenched at the sight of my kitchen transformed, mason jars lined the counters, filled with God knows what. And my sleek appliances were buried under old-fashioned cookware. Perfect timing, Norma beamed. I'm teaching Mark my mother's recipes. The ones he grew up with. Actually, we need to talk. I turned to Mark. Privately. Oh, don't mind me, Norma waved her hand. We're family. Mark. Now. He followed me to our bedroom, wiping his hands on a dish towel. What's wrong? She canceled our cleaning service without asking. She's rearranging our entire house. When is this going to end? She's just trying to help, Viv. She's lonely since Dad died. That doesn't give her the right to take over our life. I lowered my voice, conscious of potential eavesdropping. We talked about starting a family, Mark. How are we supposed to do that with your mother controlling everything? It's temporary, he said, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Just until she adjusts. From downstairs, Norma called out, Mark? The sauce needs stirring. He hesitated, caught between us. I grabbed his arm. Choose, Mark. Right now. Are you going to tell her to back off, or am I? Don't make this harder than it needs to be. He pulled away. She's family. And what am I? He was already heading for the door. We'll talk later. I followed him downstairs, arriving just in time to hear Norma's stage whisper, I worry about her, Mark. All that time at work, no interest in proper homemaking. How will she ever be a good mother? The words hit like a physical blow. I watched Mark's shoulders tense, waiting for him to defend me. Instead, he stirred the sauce and said nothing. My phone buzzed, Rachel checking in. I texted back, need wine. Lots of it. Tonight. Vivian? Norma's voice dripped with false concern. You're not going out, are you? I made dinner for 3. I grabbed my keys. I have plans. But Mark needs. Mark has you. The words came out sharp enough to make them both turn. Clearly, that's all he needs. I slammed the door behind me, my hands shaking as I started the car. Through the window, I saw Norma pat Mark's arm consolingly, probably already spinning this into another example of my inadequacy as a wife. Fine. If they wanted to play happy family, let them. But Norma had forgotten one crucial detail, this was my house too. My name was on the deed. And if she thought she could push me out of my own home without consequences, she was about to learn otherwise. I pulled out my phone and called Rachel. Change of plans. I need more than wine. I need a strategy. The bass line from Travis's amplifier rattled the windows at 3 a.m. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting the ways this nightmare kept expanding. 1 week after Norma's arrival, her precious baby boy had shown up with a duffel bag and his guitar, claiming he needed a place to sort things out. Mark hadn't even consulted me before offering our guest room. The music stopped abruptly, replaced by muffled voices. I crept to the hallway, where the conversation drifted up from the kitchen. "You can't keep playing at these hours," Norma was saying. The neighbors can fuck off." Travis's voice slurred slightly. Dad would have understood. He actually supported my music. Your father supported you finding yourself. He didn't expect you'd still be finding yourself at 29. I inched closer to the stairs, drawn by the raw emotion in their voices. "Right, because we can't all be perfect, Mark, can we?" Travis spat. "The golden child. The one who got the college fund while I got lectures about responsibility. That's not fair." "You know what's not fair? Coming home to find my room converted into your sewing space before Dad's body was even cold." Silence fell. I held my breath, feeling like an intruder in my own home. "I needed a project," Norma finally said, her voice thick. The house was so empty. "So you decided to invade Mark's instead?" A chair scraped across the floor. "I'm helping them. Vivian clearly needs guidance." "Bullshit." Travis laughed harshly. "You're marking your territory. Just like you always do. How dare you?" "What's going on?" Mark's voice joined the fray. I hadn't even heard him get up. "Your wife's spy is eavesdropping," Travis called out suddenly. "Aren't you, Vivian?" I froze. Then, deliberately, I descended the stairs. No point hiding now. Actually, I was wondering who was destroying my eardrums at 3 in the morning. I met Travis's bloodshot eyes. "Some of us have jobs to go to." "Right, because you're so superior with your corporate success." He took a swig from a beer bottle. The perfect daughter-in-law, looking down on all of us mess-ups. "Travis," Mark warned, but I cut him off. "No, let him speak." I crossed my arms. Clearly, he's got something to say. "You think you belong in this family?" Travis stood, swaying slightly. "You're just another project for Mom to fix. Another person to control. That's enough." Norma stepped between us. "Travis is just tired. And drunk." "No, he's right." I smiled coldly. "I don't belong in this family. This dysfunctional, codependent mess of a family." Mark reached for my arm. "Viv." I jerked away. "Don't touch me. You let them turn our home into a halfway house without even asking me. He's my brother. And I'm your wife." The words exploded out of me. "Or did you forget that part when Mommy moved in to take over?" Travis started laughing. "Oh man, this is better than cable. Get out." I turned on him. "All of you, get out of my house." "It's my house too," Mark said quietly. "And they're staying." The kitchen fell silent. I looked at each of them, Travis's smirk, Norma's satisfied expression, Mark's averted eyes, and something inside me hardened. "Fine." I headed for the stairs. "Then I'll go." "Don't be dramatic," Norma called after me. "Where would you even go?" I was already throwing clothes into a bag when Mark caught up to me. "You're overreacting," he said. "They're family." I zipped the bag shut. "And what am I, Mark?" He had no answer. "Just like always." As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of them in the window, Norma comforting Mark, Travis raising his beer bottle in mock salute. They looked like a perfect family portrait. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't just going to disappear. They'd invaded my home, dismissed my feelings, and pushed me out. Now they were going to learn what happened when you pushed too far. I pulled out my phone and dialed Rachel. Remember that strategy we talked about? It's time. Rachel's guest room became my war room. 3 weeks into my exile, sticky notes covered the walls like battle plans, each one detailing another small victory. Norma's precious antiques mysteriously appearing on online auction sites. Travis's amplifier developing an electrical short. The house's security system randomly activating at 3 a.m. My phone buzzed, Mark, again. I let it go to voicemail. You're going to have to talk to him eventually, Rachel said from the doorway, coffee mug in hand. Why? He's not talking to me. I crossed off another item on my list. Besides, I'm busy. Planning your next psychological warfare campaign? Before I could answer, my work phone rang. The client's name made my stomach drop. Vivian speaking. Mrs. Henderson here. We need to discuss the campaign immediately. Her voice crackled with tension. Someone contacted us about your personal situation. My blood ran cold. I don't understand. Your mother-in-law called. She's concerned about your mental state affecting our project. Said we should know you're having a breakdown. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the desk, knuckles white. I assure you, we're putting the campaign on hold. Call me when your home situation stabilizes. The line went dead. Rachel touched my shoulder. Viv? She's trying to destroy my career. I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised even me. Norma called my biggest client. That's crossing a line. Lines? I stood up, pacing. She crossed every line the moment she moved in. But this? This is war. My personal phone buzzed again. This time, it was Travis. What? Whoa, hostile much? His voice carried that familiar smug tone. Just thought you'd want to know Mom's planning to redecorate your home office. Something about a proper sewing room? The room spun again, but differently this time. She wouldn't dare. Already ordered the furniture. Mark signed off on it this morning. I ended the call, hands shaking. Rachel watched me carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to stop playing nice. I grabbed my laptop. Did you know Travis has 3 unpaid DUIs? And Norma's been writing checks from Mark's account without his knowledge? Vivian. They want to play dirty? Fine. Let's play dirty. My phone lit up with a text from Mark, we need to talk. This has gone too far. I typed back, yes, it has. Check your bank statements lately? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, what did you do? Nothing yet, I muttered, pulling up emails I'd gathered over the weeks. Evidence of Norma's financial manipulation, Travis's legal troubles, everything. But I'm about to. Rachel grabbed my wrist. Think carefully about this. Once you push this button. They pushed first. I jerked away, sending the first email. They took my home, my career, my marriage. Now I'm taking everything back. My phone exploded with notifications. Mark calling. Travis texting. Norma's number appearing and disappearing. I turned off my phone and opened my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Did you know Norma's been hiding insurance money from Howard's death? Money that should have been split between her sons? This isn't you, Viv. No? I looked up at her, feeling something cold and certain settle in my chest. Maybe it is now. Maybe this is exactly who they turned me into. A pounding at Rachel's front door made us both jump. Mark's voice carried through, Vivian. Open the door. I stayed perfectly still, watching shadows move under the door. You can't hide forever, he called out. We need to fix this. Fix this? I whispered, adding another document to my evidence file. Oh, we're way past fixing, Mark. We're into breaking now. The pounding continued, but I turned back to my work, each keystroke another nail in the coffin of their comfortable little world. They wanted to see me break? Fine. But I'd make sure they broke first. Rachel sighed and left the room, closing the door behind her. In the growing darkness, my laptop screen illuminated my face like a battle command center, and I smiled. The smell of smoke hit me before I reached the driveway. Fire trucks cast red lights across our neighborhood, their sirens silent now, but their presence drawing a crowd of onlookers. My heart stopped when I saw the blackened window of my home office. Travis stood on the lawn, reeking of alcohol, while firefighters moved in and out of the house. Norma hovered nearby, wringing her hands. No Mark in sight. What happened? My voice came out steady, surprising even me. Just a small accident, Norma rushed to explain. Travis was trying to cook. I was heating up leftover pizza. Travis swayed slightly. Your fancy microwave started sparking. The microwave in my office? He looked away. The kitchen one was dirty. A firefighter approached, notebook in hand. Mrs. Chin? We've contained the damage mostly to the office area, but there's significant smoke damage throughout the upper floor. I nodded mechanically, watching Norma comfort Travis like he was still a child. My office. My work. My life's collection of awards and client portfolios. All gone because Travis couldn't be bothered to clean a microwave. Where's Mark? At work, Norma said quickly. I tried calling. Don't. I held up my hand. Just don't. I walked past them, into the house. The acrid smell of smoke grew stronger as I climbed the stairs. Water dripped from the ceiling, pooling on hardwood floors we'd picked out together last year. But it was my office that stopped me cold. Everything was black. Melted. Destroyed. The wall of certificates I'd earned. The first ad campaign I'd ever sold. The photo of my father at my graduation, before cancer took him. All gone. Insurance will cover it, Travis called from behind me. No big deal. I turned slowly. No big deal? Mom's right, you know. You're too attached to material things. Something snapped inside me. Get out. What? Get out. I grabbed the nearest object, a soggy book, and hurled it at him. Get out of my house. Vivian. Norma appeared in the doorway. This behavior. You too. My voice was ice. Both of you, out. Now. This is Mark's house too, Norma started, but I cut her off with a laugh that sounded nothing like me. Actually, it's not. I pulled out my phone, fingers shaking as I brought up the deed. The down payment came from my inheritance. My name's first on everything. So get out before I call the police. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I dialed 911, holding the phone up. Should I press call? They backed away, Norma tugging Travis's arm. I followed them downstairs, watching as they gathered their immediate belongings. The moment they stepped outside, I locked the door and called Mark. There's been a fire, I said when he answered. Your brother destroyed my office. I've kicked them out. If you let them back in, we're done. Vivian, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. For the first time in months. I looked around at our water-damaged home. Choose, Mark. Right now. Them or me. They're my family. And I'm your wife. Or was. I ended the call and turned off my phone. Hours later, headlights swept across the walls. Keys jingled in the lock. Mark's footsteps on the stairs, then silence as he surveyed the damage. "They can stay with me at the extended stay," he said finally. "Just until we figure things out." I nodded, not looking at him. "Take what you need. Viv. You've made your choice." I stayed focused on the ruined remains of my office. "Now I'm making mine." He packed a bag in silence. At the door, he paused. "This isn't what I wanted." "Funny. It's exactly what your mother wanted." After he left, I sat in the darkness of my destroyed office, surrounded by the wreckage of my marriage. Tomorrow, I'd call contractors, insurance, lawyers. Tonight, I let the rage build, crystallizing into something sharp and purposeful. They thought this would break me. Instead, it had set me free. My phone lit up with a text from Rachel. "You okay?" "No," I typed back. "But I will be." Then I started making lists. The locksmith arrived at dawn. I watched from across the street as Mark supervised the changing of our locks, Norma hovering behind him like a vulture. My hands clenched around my coffee cup, the bitter liquid matching the taste in my mouth. "He can't do this," Rachel said beside me. "Your name's on the deed." He just did. I took a photo with my phone, documenting everything. The locksmith's van. Mark's guilty expression. Norma's triumphant smile. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "Sorry it had to be this way. Mom says it's for the best." I deleted it without responding. The locksmith finished his work, handed Mark the new keys. No copies for me. No access to my own home. My clothes. My life. "Time to move," I said, starting the car. "Where are we going?" "To see my lawyer." But the lawyer's news wasn't what I expected. "They're claiming mental instability," she said, reviewing the emergency order Mark had filed. "Your mother-in-law provided statements about erratic behavior, workplace concerns, violent outbursts." "That's ridiculous." "They have documentation. Client complaints. Witness statements about the night of the fire." She met my eyes. "And your medical history." My throat went dry. "What medical history?" "Anxiety medication prescribed 3 months ago." "Because my mother-in-law was destroying my life." "Mrs. Chin." The lawyer's voice softened. "They're painting a picture of a woman having a breakdown, threatening family members, becoming unstable. The temporary order gives them possession of the house until a full hearing." "In how long?" 30 days. I left the office in a daze, Rachel's concerned voice fading into background noise. 30 days. They had 30 days to destroy everything I'd built while I was locked out of my own home. My phone rang, my boss. "Vivian, we need to talk about your leave of absence." "My what?" "Your husband called. Said you're taking medical leave for personal issues." The world tilted sideways. They weren't just taking my home. They were dismantling my entire life. "I'm coming to the office." "That's not a good idea right now. Take some time. Get help. We'll discuss your return when you're better." The call ended. I stood on the sidewalk, watching people rush past, living their normal lives while mine crumbled. "We should go back to my place," Rachel started, but I was already walking away. "I need to see him. Vivian. Now." I found Mark at his office, Norma's handiwork evident in the fresh cookies on his desk, the family photos she'd added. He looked up when I entered, immediately reaching for his phone. "Don't bother calling security," I said. "I'll be quick. You shouldn't be here." Funny. I've been hearing that a lot lately. I picked up a cookie, crushed it in my fist. "Did you even read what you signed?" The doctors will help you. Doctors? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. The only crazy thing I did was marry you. You're proving their point right now. Their point? I swept the cookies off his desk. Your mother orchestrated this whole thing. And you're too weak to see it. He stood, finally showing emotion. Get out before I call security. Or what? You'll have me committed? Added to your mother's list of my sins? I leaned close, voice dropping. You want to see crazy? Keep pushing. See what happens when you back someone into a corner. Is that a threat? No, Mark. It's a promise. Security arrived as I was leaving. I heard them asking if he wanted to press charges. His response was lost as the elevator doors closed. Outside, I looked up at his office window, at the life I'd lost, the home I couldn't enter, the career hanging by a thread. They'd taken everything. Almost everything. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd been saving. Hello, Travis? We need to talk about your mother. And that insurance money she's been hiding. Sometimes, to win a war, you had to burn everything to the ground. Travis met me at a coffee shop 2 blocks from my house, my former house. His hands shook as he stirred his 4th sugar into his latte, eyes darting around like he expected Norma to materialize at any moment. Show me, I said. He slid his phone across the table. Photos of bank statements, insurance documents, letters from Howard's lawyer. All hidden in Norma's sewing room, my former office. She said it was better this way, Travis muttered. Said Mark would waste his share on me if he knew. And you believed her? I believed everything she said. He laughed bitterly. Until I found these. Dad left us equal shares, Viv. She kept Mark's portion to control him. Kept mine to punish me. I scrolled through the photos, each one a nail in Norma's coffin. Why show me this now? Because, his voice cracked. Because she's doing to you what she did to Dad. Isolating. Controlling. Making everyone think you're crazy until you start believing it yourself. My phone buzzed. Mark, where are you meeting Travis? She's watching you, I said. Travis nodded. Always is. Another text, Mom's worried. Come home. We can talk. They're at the house? I stood up. Perfect. Vivian, wait. But I was already moving, Travis scrambling to follow. The walk took less than 5 minutes. I found them in the living room, my living room, Norma rearranging my photos again, Mark pacing. Hello, Mother. Norma spun around. You can't be here. Actually, I can. I held up my phone. Interesting reading material in your sewing room. Howard would be disappointed. The color drained from her face. Travis? He stepped out from behind me. I found everything, Mom. Whatever you think you found, she started toward her sewing room, but I blocked her path. The insurance money? The split inheritance? The letters proving Howard wanted both sons to have equal shares? I smiled. Already sent to my lawyer. Mark, Norma turned to her son. She's lying. You know how unstable. Show him, I told Travis. He hesitated, then handed Mark his phone. I watched my husband's face as he scrolled through the evidence of his mother's manipulation. The moment realization hit. The moment everything changed. Mom? His voice sounded young, lost. What did you do? I protected you. Norma's composure cracked. Travis would have wasted his share on that ridiculous band. You needed guidance, structure. I needed my wife. Mark's hands shook. My home. My life. I am your life. Norma stepped toward him, but he backed away. Everything I did was for this family. No. I moved between them. Everything you did was for control. And now you've lost it. She turned on Travis. You ungrateful. Don't. His voice was stronger now. Don't make this his fault, I said. Your husband wanted better for his sons. You chose power instead. Get out, Mark said quietly. Norma froze. What? Get out. He looked up, meeting her eyes. Both of you. Now. Mark. Now. I watched them leave, Norma still protesting, Travis not looking back. When the door closed, silence fell. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the inheritance, I said, turning to go. Wait. Mark caught my arm. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. I pulled away. There's a difference. We could try. No. The word came out gentle but firm. We can't. Then what happens now? I looked around at our home, the space that had become a battlefield, the life we'd let slip away. Now we learn to live with our choices. I left him standing there, surrounded by the wreckage of his mother's manipulation and his own weakness. Outside, the air felt cleaner somehow. Lighter. My phone buzzed one last time. Rachel, you okay? For the first time in months, I smiled. Yes, I typed back. I'm free. Sometimes winning isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about walking away and letting them destroy themselves. The movers worked efficiently, boxing up the last remnants of my married life while I supervised from the doorway. Each item they removed felt like shedding another layer of the person I used to be. Found this in the office cleanup, one of them said, holding out a water-damaged envelope. Howard's handwriting. The letter had survived the fire, hidden behind a loose baseboard. I waited until the movers left before opening it. The paper was yellowed, dated 3 months before his death. My dear children, it began. By the time you read this, your mother will have tried to keep you close, to protect you in the only way she knows how. But a family built on control isn't a family at all, it's a prison. My hands shook as I read on. Mark, your strength lies in your kindness, but kindness without backbone becomes weakness. Travis, your passion is your gift, but rebellion without purpose becomes destruction. Learn to stand alone before you stand together. The final paragraph caught in my throat, and to whoever marries into this family, I'm sorry. The chains here are invisible until they're around your neck. Break them if you can. Sometimes love means walking away. The front door opened. Mark stood there, looking older somehow, more worn. The movers are finished, I said, folding the letter. Vivian, I don't. I held up my hand. We both know why we're here. He nodded, eyes falling on the letter. What's that? Your father's last gift. I passed it to him. He saw clearer than any of us. Mark read in silence, his shoulders getting heavier with each line. He knew. About Mom. About everything. He knew about us too. What we'd become. I never meant. Neither did I. I picked up my last box. That's what makes it worse. My phone buzzed. Travis, Mom's in therapy. Finally. Thank you. He's doing better, I said. Playing music again. Mark managed a small smile. And Mom? Learning to live with her choices. Like we all are. I stepped past him onto the porch, looking back at our home one last time. The furniture was gone, the walls bare, but something lingered, not memories, exactly, but lessons. Your father was right, I said. About the chains. Were they worth breaking? I thought about Norma, alone in her big empty house. About Travis, finding his voice again. About Mark, finally seeing the truth. About me, standing here, free. Some chains break you, I said. Others break you free. He nodded, understanding finally settling between us like peace. The lawyers will handle the rest, I said, walking to my car. The box felt lighter now, the letter's weight distributed between us all. My phone lit up again. Rachel, ready? Almost, I typed back. Just saying goodbye. But as I drove away, I realized that wasn't quite right. This wasn't goodbye, it was hello. Hello to the woman who'd emerged from the ashes of a controlled life. Hello to the strength I'd found in walking away. Howard's words echoed in my mind, sometimes love means walking away. He'd written that for all of us, his wife, his sons. And the daughter-in-law he'd never meet. A warning, a blessing, and a permission slip all in one. I turned onto the highway, watching my old life disappear in the rearview mirror. Ahead, the road stretched empty and open, full of possibilities. No more chains. No more controls. No more invisible prisons. Just me, finally free to choose my own direction. My phone buzzed one last time. Mark, thank you for breaking the chains. I didn't respond. Some things don't need answers. Some victories are best celebrated in silence, in the quiet knowledge that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. I drove on, leaving the broken chains behind, carrying only the strength they'd taught me to find.